Tucker told me to keep my remarks short. Volume 1 of 12. First of all, I'm just so honored to be given this award by the Fish and Wildlife Foundation of Florida. What a fantastic organization. My hat's off to Andy and Carlos for shepherding such a fantastic organization. I'm trying to remember how many NGOs there are in the Everglades Coalition. I want to say it was 51. And it's just people underestimate the power of organizations like this to affect and have huge change. I also want to congratulate the foundation for honoring another great conservationist, Jack Nicklaus, our great friend. He's the best thing that's come out of Ohio since Akron produced the zipper. Jack, by the way, I think yours is down. I'd also like to acknowledge his son, Gary, who's a heck of a hunter. Gary's a commissioner on the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Committee. They just this year banned high-risk and threatening reptiles, and that should go a long way to solving and ridding this state of pythons and personal injury lawyers. So, finally, I'd like to, where's Mary? Without Mary and without Eric, and I mean, this award really goes to all the incredible donors and the staff and the people at the Everglades Foundation, so many of you who support it. So I really feel like I'm accepting that on behalf of all of them, because they're the ones who've really done all the work. And Mary, when George passed away, stepped in, and she carried everything on her back. It's just been my privilege to be her wingman for almost 3 decades now. My dad passed away this past November at 100 years old, and he left me a legacy of absolutely loving the outdoors. It was the best thing that it's the greatest gift that I've ever received. And the one thing that I've learned is that, and having had the privilege of hunting and fishing in a whole bunch of different places, is that if you don't fight for it, it's not going to make it. There's so few places on Earth today where nature's still in a pristine state. And the one thing that I've learned is you can't be a conservationist if you're not an environmentalist. And that's so important because we're so afraid of the word environmentalist, but you can't be one. You can't love fish, wildlife, birds. I mean, where do you think they live? They live on land, water, and the air we breathe. You have to be an environmentalist if you're a conservationist. Teddy Roosevelt, our greatest president, greatest conservationist, that guy went, can you imagine, he kicked people off 200 million acres so that we have today what's the greatest resource, natural resource of all time. And we need more folks like him. Now, the good news is that right here, thanks to the efforts of so many folks in this room, the Everglades, we're just one bill passage away from really fixing this thing. This infrastructure bill, all we need is $5 billion out of a $2 trillion infrastructure bill. That's chump change. That's Tucker Frederickson's bar bill. So what we need, all of us who are friends with our congressmen, our senators, whomever, you need to say to them, $2 trillion in infrastructure. By my reckoning, Florida should get something like 140 billion of that, pro rata, on a population basis in this state. If we can't get $6 billion to secure the water supply in South Florida, something is terribly wrong. And the only way that we'll get it is for every person in this room to make your voices heard. We'll leave you with one last thought. My brother came down this past weekend. We were up southeast of Tallahassee fishing for redfish. He loves black and redfish. So we went out, caught a bunch of redfish, kept our legal limit of 2, and then he went back to Memphis, and I got an email from him that night. He said, I can't eat the redfish because I Googled up, we were fishing in a place called the Finn Holloway River. He said, I Googled up Finn Holloway, and it turns out it's the most polluted river in the state of Florida. Why? Because there's a paper company, there's a paper mill there dumping its toxins straight into the Finn Holloway River, which now you'll be all happy to know they've fixed that because they built a pipeline that goes 15 miles into the Gulf. So the next time you order red snapper or grouper, just feel real good about the fact that you're going to have all those toxins and probably what they're serving on your plate. The point is that obviously has to stop. The benefit cost of that is simply not worth the damages that it's doing. And again, I say to you, you can't be a conservationist if you're not an environmentalist. It's like being a dentist and not being a sadist. It's like being a fisherman and not being a liar. And you know who I'm talking about. Every person in here has ever been fishing. So let's not get scared of words like environmentalism. My God, if you love to fish and hunt, it's the number one thing that we should all be. If there ever was a state that should be the greenest state in the country, it should be Florida. Think about this. No income tax in this state. And the reason why there's no income tax is because we get our revenue from property tax for people who pay for the privilege of living in the most beautiful, most ecologically diverse place in the country. We also get our revenue from hotel and tourism tax for people who pay for the privilege of visiting the most beautiful place in the country with the cleanest beaches and water and air. So if you don't want a state income tax, then you better get on your knees and thank the Lord that you're an environmentalist, because that's how we're going to continue with the financial situation that we have in this great state. So in closing, once again, you can't be a conservationist if you're not environmentalist. Let's all join together, save our Everglades, save our state, and let's hope we can give to the next generation. I see Eric's little 13-year-old daughter. I pray we can give this earth to you the same way my daddy gave it to me. Thank you very much.